So for this video, me and my brother are going to be sharing a bunch of different DMT trips that we've had over the past 2 to 3 years, I'd say. We just spent the last hour and a half writing down a bunch of different trips that we could remember, you know, reaching back in our memories of different stuff that's happened. And we're going to keep them kind of short and concise, just to show you all, for a few reasons actually, that just what DMT can be like, you know, the different ways in which it can happen, and how it's not always what you're told it's gonna be, nor is it always the same thing every single time. It's definitely not what Terrence McKenna said it was gonna be every single time, you know what I mean? And I feel you'll understand that more as we begin sharing our different trips we've had.
I think it's a good showcase of the variety you can have each trip, I think.
Yeah. So I'll start off. The first one I have here, and like I said, I'm gonna keep it right to the point of what happened, just to show you how weird these things can be. So this first experience was with Changa, which isn't just crystal DMT, it's an herbal mixture that also contains DMT. I smoked the Changa, and I don't remember much besides this direct thing that happened with closed eyes. I saw this, it looked like a bunch of these streamers of rainbow spaghetti, and they were shooting out of this point, and they went and spiraled in the shape of a donut, and they were swirling, and it created this shape of what I could only describe as a 4-dimensional donut. And I can't remember what happened first, but as I'm seeing this explosion, out of the explosion comes this little pile of golden chains. Just imagine a pile of golden chains, but it had big, googly eyes and tiny little human feet. Hairy human feet.
Yeah.
And it was waddling out of this explosion. And it was as if I was moving. I didn't feel like I was moving, but I guess visually I was moving, because all of a sudden, out of the left-hand side of my vision, I was cut off by what I could only describe looked like the Pokemon Deoxys, with long tentacle arms. And it didn't pay attention to me, but it more or less, it knew I was there, and it cut me off. Yeah, so that's the end of my first bullet.
I always love the descriptions for them, the different words you use and stuff.
You can only use so many
fucking
words.
Exactly. And
you're gonna hear some crazy, weird words.
That's what I love about it, though, is your best attempt at describing it.
Yeah.
You said your first experience was on Changa?
Just the first one that I have here
Okay,
listed.
yeah. My first experience ever was on Changa as well, and it was interesting because I had no idea what to expect, and I knew to keep my eyes closed, so I did that. And from what I can remember, I started seeing these spheres coming out of the darkness, and it seemed as if there was, I want to say, 3 of them placed separate from each other, and I was moving through them, and on the other side it looked like what I'd say is a blue and red swirling tornado almost of
like
color.
a double helix kind of?
Yep.
Yeah.
And as that got going, behind it I see a face, like almost the outline of, say, like the Anonymous mask, if you know what I'm talking about. Just very faintly behind it, and it was looking right at me. And I remember it blew me away. And something to note about that experience, I think shortly after, maybe a week or so, he's on YouTube and sees almost an exact replica designed into a computer simulation of what this visual I saw in my experience, and had never seen this YouTube video or anything like that. It was almost exactly what I had seen. He sends it to me, and yeah.
I could probably direct you straight to the video I watched. I'm pretty sure it was Terrence McKenna's True Hallucinations audiobook. I couldn't tell you where in the video it was.
You should put a comment in there. Like, we should look it up later and put a comment on
I'll probably use
what
it as
scene
a
it
thumbnail.
was.
Honestly.
Yeah, because it was insane to me that I had such a similar hallucination. And it was...
A ways into this video, I was just listening to it, and it was like images showing up and stuff as his audio plays, and I just happened to glance over and I see basically exactly what he just described.
It was very similar.
It was this blank, staring, mask-looking face with these swirling blue colors in front of it. Exactly how he described it.
Yep.
And I was just like, what the fuck? There was some very weird stuff going on when we first started.
That is true. Certain things would just click and you wouldn't know why, or things would make sense and you wouldn't know why.
It reminds
It's just
me
interesting
of
how
yes.
things
Remember that.
played out.
Is that it for that first one you just said?
That was the first one.
So my second one here is okay. I remember this one. I'm pretty sure this was just straight crystal. I was in my room. I took it and shut my eyes, and very cliche-like, honestly, there was this like, it looked like this jagged hallway, but it wasn't really a hallway, it was more like a wormhole made of spiky cubes or prisms. I can't remember which of it was, but I was seeing these like, they were like going like that, spike like cubes or whatever, swirling around this tunnel shape. And then I see these rows of eyes. I remember it as specific. Rows of eyes came like washing down towards me. It washed over my vision, and I see all these thousands of rows of eyes is how I remember describing it. And then this green colored woman, I remember her being green, came like floating down to me. She like just came from the darkness of my vision and came right down to my face, and it looked like her hair looked like what your hair looks like underwater, like floating like. And I got, I'm not gonna wonder if it was me making it up or her telling me, but I got the message in my head, you're on my level now. And I
call it an intrusive thought.
Right. It is kind of.
It doesn't seem like you're the one thinking it.
It's actually just like that. What I know to be the psychological definition of an intrusive thought is how the beings talk to you on psychedelics. But anyway, I guess I didn't want to be on her level at that point, and I opened my eyes to avoid, where I was going with my eyes closed. And I proceeded to just watch my room for the rest of the trip, which was still honestly climbing in intensity. And I'm watching my room, and I can't remember exactly what was going on, but I do remember very specifically I have this canvas painting of Buddha's face with his eyes closed. I could basically say he was alive. He was animated. First of all, it looked like a head, an actual head. No longer just a 2D painting, it was a head. And he was blinking. I look over and I see him close his eyes again. And that, I think that's the last of this one. Yes, that's the last of that one. Just very crazy shit.
Yeah. Second one for me, this one's pretty short and sweet. It seems like a lot of these trips, you only get to pull back snippets of what you experience, I think. Your recollection of the trip, anyway. We were on our way out to the woods out behind our house, and we picked a spot to sit and smoke the crystal. And I remember just after the first 2 or 3 hits, I looked up at the tree canopy, and the tree branches started to look like veins. And they also looked like they were pulsing with a heartbeat. And the leaves started to look as if they were skin cells. And it started to give me the impression of me being inside a body or underneath skin,
Right.
looking through
Hollow
light.
skin, yeah.
And it just, that was another very crazy visual I've had on Deem. But yeah, that's it for the second one.
That's it
Short
for
and
that
sweet,
one?
yeah.
This next one I have is also pretty short and sweet. I was out in my woods alone with crystal DMT, and I took it, and I don't know if it was the first thing I saw or if I was, tripping and then just opened my eyes, but I was sitting on this rock, and out in front of me, it was like a clearing and trees behind that, and all these bushes and vegetation between me and the trees. And in the area where the bushes were, it looked like a shattered glass serpent or something. It looked like, at the time I described it as everything looked like it was a shattered chandelier, like just destroyed glass, like fragmenting off of itself.
So cool.
And I saw this, I don't know why I remember it looking like this, curved serpent-like thing. But yeah, that's the end of that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Shattered chandelier serpent.
Shattered chandelier serpent. Okay. Oh, okay. This one was where me and him go out into our field by our house as well, and this was like one of the first couple times that I had tripped on DMT, and we were smoking. I started getting the shutter vision, I guess, looking up at the grass, and just the typical far out geometry patterns going on. And I happened to lay down on my back, and I'm looking up into the clouds, and through the clouds is blue sky, and I'm looking at that one spot, and all of a sudden I see again a mask kind of looking face peek through that and then back away. And it immediately I can't remember, did I get your attention for that one in the middle of it, or was it just something
I feel like I remember some sort of
I probably
statement.
giggled or was like, what the
Yeah.
hell
Yes, exactly.
did I just see?
Pretty sure it was something like that. Like, what?
It gave me the impression that we were like in this fishbowl,
Yes, I was just gonna say that.
and someone was checking on us, Someone was peeking in and seeing what we were up to real quick, and yeah, that was a pretty far out visual for sure.
I remember him having that experience. Is that it on that one?
Yep.
This next one is another short one, and again, out in the field with him. I took it, and I shut my eyes, and immediately, it looked like these rows of checkers that were going in towards each other. Like, they were running down and also pinching in on themselves. And I saw these Joker-like faces popping out of different, like, flaps of the checkered board thing that was running down, as if it was deep. You know what I mean? Like, you could see them coming out at different levels, and they were
three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Like you could see.
Yeah,
depth
it was like they were
at.
popping their heads out at different levels of this checkered board thing.
Yeah.
Very weird. And I've always described, the beginning visuals look, when you rub your eyes and it gets all black and you can't see shit for a second? That's called phosphenes. And if you look at them with your eyes closed, it looks like a bunch of swirling light. And I've noticed that the beginning of DMT can look like that, and that's what this kind of resembled at first, but just a little a little more in depth and with jokers popping their heads out of it. That's it for that one.
What's that? All right.
Yeah.
Another one out in the woods. I'll admit, in the early stages of me trying DMT, it seemed so profound and so spiritual that it seemed like each time I'd go into these experiences, I was getting more out of it, or climbing the ladder, you know, and hopefully we can all kind of admit that might have been a thought in our mind very early on.
Same here.
And anyway, I kind of went into that trip with that attitude. I was like, I want it. I want to experience how strong it can get. And I started smoking, and I remember this wasn't a very visual trip that I can remember, but the feeling that came over me and how fast I started tripping, it was as if they threw me in a chair and they put me in my place. They said, you want it, here it is. And it was a very, very intense feeling the whole time. Like I said, I can't really remember the visuals, but it was like it threw it all at me at once, and I didn't have a chance to prepare for it. I was definitely underestimating it, and I feel like it knew that, and like I said, it put me in my place. I came out of that one feeling very different. I was like, I think that was the one where it was like, I came out and you're like, you look different.
I did say that.
Something about it just made me realize the raw
he came out of the
intensity
experience
of this drug.
He came out a little wide-eyed, staring, and I remember, I can add, just, you know, he's standing up and just spacily walking off, walking away.
Yep, that was exactly
and I'm
what
like,
happened.
You know, that's what made me feel, you know, damn, he like looks different right now, whatever he just went through. Did you hear that? Hold on. I'm gonna check something I just heard real quick.
Did it open or shut? Hey, we live in an old house and we hear noises all the time. So.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I'm gonna just keep talking. I'm gonna just.
Yeah, hopefully you guys will dig a weird noise in the house that we had to check out. I don't know.
You might hear it.
Yeah,
I hope it caught it on camera, because
cool.
that was actually kind of weird.
Doors.
Yo. What the fuck? Dude, I'm getting all. What the fuck? Alright, back to DMT trips. Okay, this is the one where I basically went retarded immediately upon hitting.
Handing me the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were actually up here. I'm still hearing shit. We were actually up here, and loaded it up for both of us, and I hit it first. I'm pretty sure I actually passed it to you, and you're like, no, I want you to hit it first.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So that was like a freshly loaded hit, and I put the light to it, and it makes my eyes water. It was such a big hit, that usually happens, it makes my eyes water. And it hit me, like, immediately, and my vision started, like, it pixeling or fragmenting or something like that. And I go to hand him the pipe, but I actually hand him the lighter, not even realizing it, and just hand him all the stuff, and I roll over and put my hands over my eyes, go like that in the corner of the bed. And right when I shut my eyes, I felt like I was the size, like, planetary size. I felt like I was the size of a planet, and I was like squeezing through these spinning barrels. They were all like one here, here, and here, and they were also massive spinning barrels, spinning really fast. And I remember it was like a claustrophobic. I didn't feel claustrophobic, but it was a tight space I was squeezing through. I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember. That was also the experience where when I opened my eyes, the room was basically being destroyed by vibration. Like, I remember the walls looked like they were, like, falling down from shuddering so much. Everything was like
that
doubled
when I
up.
said acid visuals times a million?
It was.
I think that was
It
that
was.
trip. It was like just the typical shutter vision and just
God.
tracers. Things looked like they were, falling, dripping, whatever you want to call it.
I
But
looked
it
at
was
him.
Crazy looking.
I looked at him and he had 8 eyes and was looking in multiple directions at once. And I want to say he had multiple arms. Everything was multiple. Everything was
Yep.
It was very...
I think that's what I call shutter vision.
Right,
I don't
right.
know if that's like the right term.
I consider that shit tracers. Like, I've seen that before, but it's more like, it's more like
flicking
shuddering,
by.
or like your vision is vibrating. The things you're seeing are like echoing away. Like, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention when I first was taking the hit. The reason I could tell it was smacking me so quickly. I'm in this position hitting the pipe, and the room seemed like it was only as wide as I was holding my hands. Everything seemed like it was shot out in front of me while I'm hitting this pipe. Like everything seemed compressed down into, like I said, the width of me like this. Very weird. That's it for that description.
That was a good one. That was a
a very good one.
Next one. I tried to list these somewhat in order of like when I did these trips. This one was Changa out in the field again, but it was rainy, so we were sitting in my car. We had some music going, I'm sure, and we started smoking it out of the bong. And the most prominent visual that I remember from that one is looking through the tall grass in the field there and seeing what looked like leopards peeking through the grass as if they were hunting. They looked like they were in stealth
Prowling.
mode. Yes.
I remember you telling me that one.
And another notable thing about that experience, I didn't realize it really until after I started coming down. It seemed as if we had company. Like there was.
That was that one for you?
It was that one.
Yeah. We had company. Oh, God.
It was like all of a sudden I started sensing other people. There was someone outside my car to the left of me, outside the door. It seemed like there was someone on the hood of my car, kind of like slouched up, leaning back, and then there was a few people in the back seat, and then someone on the roof. And I mean that, for me to be able to locate the senses of where I'm feeling these individuals,
I just want to add really quickly. I sense people were around the car too.
Yeah, that was another thing about that. We both came to the agreement that we were feeling the same company.
Before we were even, mentioning what had happened and what was still happening, we were just sitting there in silence, tripping out. I also felt like there's 2 people in the back. I felt like one person was kind of in the middle with their head sticking out of that,
Right, I got a moon
spot,
roof.
the moon roof, yes. Sticking out of the moon roof. And there was also people outside of the car.
Yeah.
On my right side, just hanging out.
Yep.
We hadn't mentioned anything to each other. And as you can see, we both had this impression of people being there. And, not to add in a little side trip, but I'm actually going to.
Yeah.
I've felt like that alone on Changa. Aside from DMT.
Alone is what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time I had smoked Changa and I thought my dad was there. All of a sudden I open my eyes and I sit up and start acting normal. Nobody's there, and I realize I'm completely fucking geeking out of my mind.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck is this shit doing? I was just somebody was here. Somebody was there.
I think it's Changa specifically that I've only really felt company.
Seriously.
Like I said,
Seriously.
there's been only one other time that I've felt that was sitting by a big maple tree and just looking out across the field, enjoying the visuals, and I swear I could have there was 3 people sitting behind me, and if I had laid back, I would have
leaned into them.
them.
Yeah.
And I even remember coming down and turning around to check.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that, homie.
So it just seems like Changa has some sort of company that comes along with it.
Don't get me wrong, I've felt presence I've felt other through crystal DMT,
Mm-hmm.
but Changa seems to really exaggerate and animate the literal, almost primal feeling of somebody being around you.
And what if you're not as much seeing this presence as you are on Deem,
Right.
but on Changa it seems like they're here with you. You're not watching them.
Remember?
Like you are on Crystal, but Changa almost brings them here to you while you're experiencing the trip.
I remember one time me and you described it as DMT is just, pure crystalline DMT. It's just so formless and foreign and alien that it's very hard to grasp what's going on. But when you take that DMT and embed it in herbs or ingest it through plants, ayahuasca and Changa.
Something tied to earthbound.
Right. Since it's tied to something familiar, since it's being registered through something earthbound, the DMT becomes, more available, I guess, or more interpretable, if that's a thing.
Yeah.
But Changa's very weird. Matter of fact, this next experience is about Changa. I was out in my woods with my friend, and I took the Changa, and I remember in the very beginning I was looking at the ferns, and they started to, I guess, fractalize or turn into geometric designs. I remember they looked very honeycomb-like, hexagon-like. And at one point, the body load was coming on really hard. I shut my eyes and I laid back. And as I'm laying back, I didn't shut my eyes until I laid back. As I laid back, I saw the ferns shoot up past me because I laid my head down. And I saw everything shoot up past me because I'm now below the plant levels. And I shut my eyes, and immediately I feel as if I'm a 12-year-old Amazonian boy that is laying down for bedtime because he's worked all day very hard in the jungle being a young Amazonian boy, and he was, it was like immediately in the blink of an eye there's this whole lifetime concept applied to me. Like, I'm this boy, I work hard every day, and I just laid down to do my rest, and I'm a very grateful person. And it was very strange, and I remember when I sat up, and like I said, I was with my friend. I no longer knew who was next to me. I no longer had this solid, feeling of knowing who's next to me. It was morphing through my dad, my grandfather, him.
Could have been anyone.
My mom, who was actually there, and I remember I didn't open my eyes or look over because I wanted to prolong this feeling of not knowing who the fuck's next to me, because it was I said to him, I was like, dude, I literally, don't know who's next to me right now. Weird. It was very weird.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it for that one.
Alright, this is a good one. Out in the woods again. We had the pipe with the crystal, and we had some music playing, and this kid, it didn't hit him well
Oh God.
And he starts to puke. And this was well after we had come up. So we were in the middle of tripping, and he's puking, and I'm watching him puke. And it was such a scenario. But both of us remained so calm, and it was just like the trip carried on.
You good, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. He's in the middle of it, and I'm just like, you all good? I remember the song sounded so far out. The auditory hallucinations in that trip, I'll never forget, because that song sounded like it was machines.
Once again,
mechanical.
Too.
It was.
Once again, I heard it too.
Yeah.
Right as the song began, I heard the song completely distorted and warped and fucked as well.
It just didn't sound the same at all. And and in the middle of that, I'm looking out into the woods, and it's foggy.
Right, like some
And
fog
then-
rolled in.
We come down, we're talking about it, and I start looking around, and I realize it's not foggy anymore.
There was never any fog.
Was there even any fog? Unless it rolled in within the time we were tripping and
Right.
it was gone.
And I wasn't able
Then
to see
maybe.
fog during my
It was
trip.
foggy. It was like clearly a misty fog throughout the whole woods, gray and everything. It was a cloudy, overcast day, but hard to say if there was fog for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and then
right.
it was gone.
I didn't see any fog.
Right.
But no, that was a pretty far out trip. I'll actually end up describing that in one of my bullets.
Yeah.
But moving on to my next one, which is a Chang experience. I was actually sitting on the roof of my house with a bowl, smoking Changa. And I took a bunch of hits. I wasn't feeling it at first, so I just kept chasing it until the bowl was gone. And I'm looking at the lawn. I'm high up too. I see everything. It looks really cool. And I'm looking at the lawn. It's blowing in the wind. All of a sudden, it starts to look like it's going like this. Like the individual blades are like, one of them was blurry. It was like tracers or shutter vision. It was like it was doubling up. I was seeing the grass double up. And then, I don't know what came over me, but I just started feeling like weak, but not in a bad way, just very limp. Very,
you just wanted to relax.
Yeah, and I literally laid down on the side of my roof, and I went into the fetal position, really. And I felt like there was this, what I described to be this ancestral grandmother or Gaian grandmother cradling me. She, I didn't see her, but I felt her. I felt her presence. She was,
Right.
It was like she was enveloped around me. And it was like she was singing to me. And I was just staying calm, like, what the fuck is, I wasn't really talking that much in my mind. I was very calm we were both very giving. It seemed like a very giving, far out experience. I'm pretty sure I was listening to Icaros chanting as well.
Yeah, you were. I remember exactly what trip you're talking about now. You telling me about that.
Yeah. I guess that chanting, brought about this feeling of this grandmother spirit who was singing to me. And, like I said, an ancestral or Gaian spirit, grandmother-like spirit thing was singing to me, cradling me. Yep, that's it for that one.
So we got, this one was in my room, this room here, and we were sitting, I was actually in this chair, and he was on the bed, and we were smoking the crystal, and I remember, I kept my eyes open for most of this one, I think, because the visuals were so far out. Again, acid visuals times a million, but looking at the lines of my ceiling, everything was warped. Nothing seemed... Yeah, right, like that right. Line right there. It was... angles were just gone. I couldn't tell the geometry.
It was like the spatial, dimensional shaping of everything was...
And another thing that I started to realize was, looking outside, I couldn't tell if we were floating through space in that room, and we could have been upside down, we could have been, you know, my spatial orientation.
Right.
I could have been completely upside down. I had no idea.
We're flying through fucking
Might
space.
as well have been. The room was all that existed, and it was just tumbling through existence, basically. Yeah, no, that's it on that one.
Okay, here's actually my half of the experience where I puked. So, I started smoking, and I think it was the second hit. I blew it out, and I didn't cough it out, but I got the feeling of a cough, and I coughed so hard that I gagged. And right when I gagged, it was like a pit sank in my stomach, and I felt like, oh no, I'm gonna puke. Not, you know, and I'm thinking, no, not now. I literally just smoked a shitload of DMT, and I'm thinking that's probably why I'm fucking about to puke. And all of a sudden, like, in the blink of an eye, I just give up and give in to what's about to happen, and I fucking puke. And what I wrote down, what I specifically remember is, you know, I'm seeing the puke coming out, and I was wearing my mala beads, my long mala beads. They looked like they were like, cause I'm like shaking around, leaning down, puking, and, you know, just trying to keep my beads out of the puke and stuff. And I remember seeing the beads looking like they were like blowing all around through the fucking puke. It looked very weird. And also, when I stopped puking, I was still tripping really hard. But now I was calm and happy, and because I was done puking, and I get up and I'm looking at the woods, and everything looks like I couldn't see where the trees started. I couldn't see. Everything looked like it was like swirling and like woven through itself. The way I described it was everything looked like static lightning bolts, like stuck in time. Lightning bolts frozen in place. Everything was like
tree branches look far out.
Very far out. If you've never, I guess, smoked DMT out in the woods, it's always looked the same for me. It's always...
The branches look a lot different. A lot different.
Yeah.
Sharper and more jagged and animated almost.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it on that one? The puking one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like the only really vulgar trip we've had, you know.
Yeah, that was a pretty intense experience, though.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my word. When I thought I got stuck tripping.
Oh God, I was actually just thinking about it.
We were up in my room again, and on the crystal, 3 or 4 hits in, I'm sitting in the chair with my arm rested right here. In my peripheral vision, it looked like my forearm was extending outward, like kind of like that towards the camera. Right. It was, and every time I looked, it was back to normal, and then I'd stare, and it would keep extending out, and my pants looked weird. And that was the one where I had convinced myself that if I'm not dead, I accidentally got into the permafrost trip. Like, I'm stuck tripping forever. Because I couldn't tell how long it had been. It felt like it was going on for a very long time. Very long time. And it was the only experience that felt like that.
Right.
Like, I wasn't coming down.
We had to have a trip like that.
Right. And, yeah, it was just interesting.